What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Bobby's Big Board. Today, we're flipping the script. We've already talked about the sleepers. Now it's time to break down the guys I'm staying away from in this year's rookie draft. These are the players that might be getting hype, might be climbing up boards, but based on film, production trends, and fantasy history, I'm just not buying in. I'm not saying these guys can't play football, but when it comes to fantasy football, especially Dynasty, I think their price tags are just a little too steep or the risk is just a little too high. Let's dive into my top 5 rookies to avoid in the 2025 NFL Draft. Alright, kicking off the list at number 5. This one might ruffle a few feathers, but I've got Jaden Higgins, wide receiver out of Iowa State, as a player I'm avoiding in this year's rookie draft. Look, he's got some of the most reliable hands in the entire draft class, no question. He's a physical presence at the X position and can win contested catches, but when I turn on the tape, the lack of top-end speed is just hard to ignore. I know he tested well at the combine, but it doesn't show up on film for me. He looks slow and stiff, especially after the catch. He's not creating much separation, and when he does catch the ball, there's little to no juice. From a fantasy standpoint, that's a red flag. When I looked back at the wide receivers drafted over the past 10 years, the guys who fit that jump ball, low yak, possession-only profile have consistently underperformed in fantasy. Now, that doesn't mean Higgins can't carve out a role in the NFL. He absolutely can, but he's currently going around the mid-second round in rookie drafts, and that's where I'm absolutely out. I'd much rather wait and take a swing on a guy like Kyle Williams in the third, who brings far more separation and after-the-catch upside. My comp for Jaden Higgins is somewhere between J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Kelvin Harmon, guys who look the part as possession receivers but lack the athleticism and separation ability to make it stick at the next level. He might stick on an NFL roster, but from a fantasy standpoint, I just don't see the ceiling. Higgins might be a reliable real-life player, but when it comes to fantasy production, I think the ceiling is low and the floor isn't worth the price tag. At number 4 on my list of rookies to avoid, I've got Dylan Sampson, running back out of Tennessee. Now look, this guy is an elite athlete. The speed, the burst off the line, the explosiveness, it all pops. But as flashy as he looks in space, his limitations as a true runner are hard to overlook. The biggest concern for me might be his ball security. He's had issues holding on to the football, especially this past year. And if there's one thing we know about NFL coaches, is that fumbling is the fastest way to lose your job. You show that problem in the NFL and you're on the bench. Beyond that, he's very limited as a pass catcher. He hasn't shown much in terms of route running or being a natural hands catcher out of the backfield. That caps his upside on passing downs and makes him more of a one-dimensional back. And when you watch the tape, his ability to create is kind of questionable. If the hole's not wide open, he tends to struggle. He doesn't have that feel for finding daylight or making something out of nothing. On top of that, I want my backs to have some level of physicality and some contact balance to break tackles and finish runs. Sampson, to me, is average at best in both of those categories, and if you're average at those things in college, it's only going to get worse at the NFL level, what really makes this a pass for me is his ADP. He's currently going in the early to mid-second round in a lot of rookie drafts, and I just can't justify that price. I'd much rather wait and take a guy like Jordan James, who's my RB3 in this class, and you can get James later in the second and even the mid-third, and he checks every single box that Sampson doesn't. Dylan Sampson reminds me of a lot of guys like Kalen Ballage or even Dree Archer, speedbacks who looked electric in space but couldn't bring enough to the table as complete runners. They struggled with vision, physicality, and ball security, and those are exactly the concerns I have with Sampson. He might flash in the right system, but I'm not spending a second round pick on a guy with that many red flags. Sampson might turn into a splashy change of pace guy in the right system, but at his current cost, there's just too much risk and not enough every down upside for me to pull the trigger. At number 3 on my list of rookies to avoid, I've got Ollie Gordon, running back out of Oklahoma State. Now let me say this up front, I get the appeal. He's a big, powerful runner who puts up monster numbers in 2023, and that season definitely got my attention, but when I dug deeper and watched the 2024 film, the concerns really started piling up. The biggest issue? He's just stiff. Painfully stiff. He might be one of the most rigid runners I've ever watched on film. There's no bend, no fluidity, and his acceleration is basically non-existent. If Najee Harris looks slow at times, Ollie Gordon looks like he's running with cinder blocks strapped to his feet. To be fair, Oklahoma State was a complete mess this past season. The offense looked disjointed, the line didn't help, but that actually exposed a bigger issue for me. Gordon is completely dependent on his blocking. If a play breaks down, he's not creating anything on his own. There's no improvisation, no slipperiness, no burst, and that's a red flag when projecting to the next level. He still has some hype off that 2023 production, and I'm seeing him go in the late second round of rookie drafts, but for me, he's one of the lowest graded running backs in this class. At best, I think he can carve out a role as a goal line back or an early down hammer in a system with elite run blocking, but that means he's completely landing spot dependent. And when you're drafting in the second round, you want more than a maybe if everything breaks right. Ollie Gordon reminds me a lot of Benny Snell and Andre Williams, guys that dominated in college behind volume and blocking, but didn't really have the juice or versatility to stick in the league. He's a stiff runner with no acceleration and completely landing spot dependent. If he gets in the right system, maybe he becomes a goal line guy, but as a fantasy asset, he's someone I'm staying away from at his current price. I'd rather take a shot on somebody like Jalen Royals around that same range, someone with more juice and actual upside, than spend valuable draft capital on a guy who may just end up being a rotational short yardage back. At number 2 on my list of rookies to avoid, we've got Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. Now, I get the recent buzz. He's been productive the last couple years and has some highlight-worthy throws on tape. But when I dig into the full picture, I see a lot of inconsistencies and red flags that make me uncomfortable drafting him in my rookie drafts, especially anywhere near the first or second round. Dart's the kind of guy who'll give you 1 or 2 wow throws per game, and they're legit throws that show touch, timing, and confidence in the intermediate areas of the field, which I actually do value a lot. But then, just as quickly, he'll make some of the worst decisions you'll see from a quarterback. Poor reads, late throws into coverage, you name it, it's a roller coaster. When it comes to raw arm talent, I think it's honestly pretty underwhelming. If you dropped him into the NFL tomorrow, I'd say he has maybe the 20th to 25th best arm among starters. He can operate in the short to intermediate game, but I just wasn't impressed with his deep ball or his accuracy on quick hitters either. It all felt a little meh. And a big reason for his inflated numbers, Lane Kiffin's offense. It's super QB friendly, lots of RPOs, screens, manufactured reads, a ton of easy completions that really pad the stats without actually showing high-level quarterbacking. A lot of people also seem to love Dart's running ability, but that's a part that doesn't do much for me either. Yes, he was used in the QB power and zone read looks, but he always looked slow and inefficient to me as a runner. The production wasn't there really, and he doesn't really have the athleticism to scare defenses with his legs. To his credit, he's a tough competitor, but that's actually part of the problem as well. He'll drop his shoulder and take unnecessary hits in traffic. That might work in the SEC, but at the next level, that's how you lose your QB for the season. Right now, I'm seeing him projected as a late first to mid-second round pick in both real life and Dynasty rookie drafts, and I just don't see the value. The upside doesn't match the cost, and the flaws, decision-making, arm talent, efficiency as a runner, they're all just too big for me to ignore, no matter where he lands. Jackson Dart reminds me a lot of Drew Lock, or even a less polished version of early Bo Nix. You'll see a throw or two that make you go wow, but then he turns around and puts the ball in harm's way, or takes a hit he didn't need to. Lane Kiffin's offense gave him a ton of freebies, and I just don't see the tools translating at the price people are paying for him in rookie drafts. For me, Dart is a hard pass unless we're talking very late in Superflex drafts as a stash and hope type. And at number 1 on my list of rookies to avoid, we're going out with a bang. It's Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Now look, I know this is going to be a controversial one. He's being projected as a first-round pick in the NFL, and in most rookie drafts I've seen, he's going inside the top 8 picks. Sometimes even earlier in Superflex formats, but I've got some real concerns that make me hesitant to spend that type of capital on him. Let's start with what he does well. Shedeur is one of the most accurate passers in this class, especially in the short to intermediate areas of the field. He's got good timing, and when he's in rhythm, he can throw with anticipation. But when you dig into the rest of his game, the cracks start to show. The first issue, it's his arm strength. While he's got enough arm to make basic NFL throws, he really lacks the zip on medium to deep routes. When you're throwing to the sideline or trying to fit balls in between coverage downfield, the velocity absolutely matters. He can layer throws with touch, but when he has to drive it, it floats. That's going to lead to interceptions, especially from NFL safeties who close windows fast. The biggest concern I have with Shedeur is his pocket presence. He led the country in pressures taken, and while a lot of people will point to Colorado's terrible offensive line, and they're not wrong, Shedeur didn't help himself at all. He consistently runs into sacks, and it's not just because he's not a great athlete, it's the way he handles the pocket. He has a tendency to drift backwards instead of stepping up, and that creates brutal angles for his offensive tackles. You see it time and time again on film. He'll drop way too far back and turn what could have been a minor pressure into a drive-killing sack. This kind of habit is a major red flag at the NFL level. Defenders are faster, the pocket collapses quicker, and that drifting will get him punished hard. So while the accuracy is nice and he's got the poise and the name value, there are just too many mechanical and physical concerns for me to invest in a top pick like Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders gives me serious Mac Jones or Colt McCoy vibes. Smart, accurate, composed, but limited physically. His deep ball lacks zip, and his pocket presence is a real issue. He drifts too far back, puts his O-line in bad spots, and takes way too many sacks. That stuff doesn't just go away at the NFL level. For a guy being drafted top 8 in rookie drafts, I just don't see the upside people are hoping for. He's currently going in the first round of rookie drafts, and I just can't justify that price tag. There are safer QB options later, and if I'm spending a premium pick in Superflex, I want more athleticism, more arm talent, or at the very least just a clean pocket mechanic profile. And right now, Shedeur Sanders doesn't check any of those boxes for me. And that wraps up my top 5 rookies to avoid in the 2025 NFL Draft. Again, this isn't whether these guys can play football or not. It's all about value, projection, and how their traits translate to fantasy production, especially in Dynasty formats. If you agree, or if you've got your own avoid list, drop it in the comments. I want to hear it. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more rookie breakdowns and Dynasty insight, and hit that bell so you never miss a post. I've got more prospect content dropping soon, including a look at my running back rookie rankings pre-draft. So stay locked in. Appreciate y'all for watching, and see you next time on Bobby's Big Board.
Hey.